Today, we're going to dig into a single, shocking event that catapulted a hesitant America right into the heart of World War II. Of course, I'm talking about the attack on Pearl Harbor.
And that's the big question, right? How could one single morning completely flip the script on a world war? To really get it, we've got to go back in time to a Sunday morning that started out peaceful, but would end up changing everything.
The date, December 7th, 1941. The place, Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. This is when the Imperial Japanese Navy unleashed a massive, devastating surprise attack on the U.S. naval base there. You know, this one act, it didn't just shock a nation. It set off a chain reaction that would completely reshape the entire world.
Okay, so it's super important to remember this attack didn't just happen in a vacuum. It wasn't random. To really understand the why behind it, we need to rewind the clock and look at a whole decade of simmering tensions between two giants in the Pacific.
So throughout the 1930s, Japan's imperial ambitions were just exploding. It all really kicked off in 1931 when they invaded Manchuria, mostly for its resources. Then, things got even more serious. By 1937, it was a full-blown war with China. Fast forward to 1940, and Japan makes it official, joining up with Germany and Italy as the Axis powers. But the real breaking point for the U.S., that came in 1941, when Japan moved into French Indochina. That was a direct challenge to American interests, and things were about to get very, very real.
So how did the U.S. respond? Well, President Roosevelt hit back, and he hit back hard. He froze all Japanese assets, but the real knockout punch was cutting off all oil exports to Japan. I mean, think about that. This wasn't a small thing. It was a huge blow. This embargo cut off a staggering 88% of Japan's imported oil. It was basically designed to starve their entire war machine of fuel.
This economic chokehold was a massive power play by the U.S. It basically backed Japan's leaders right into a corner. Suddenly, they had a really stark choice to make. They could either give up on all their plans for an empire, or they could roll the dice on a massive, high-stakes gamble to take out the one thing standing in their way, the U.S. Navy in the Pacific.
Okay, so that brings us to the big question, right? Why Pearl Harbor? I mean, of all the places they could have hit, why this one specific naval base, seemingly in the middle of nowhere? Why was this the spot for such a critical attack?
Well, the mastermind behind the plan was Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto, and to him, Pearl Harbor was the absolute key. See, back in 1940, FDR had moved the Pacific Fleet there to kind of flex America's muscles, to act as a deterrent. But what that really did was put all their eggs in one basket, creating one big, juicy target. It was the central hub for all U.S. power in the Pacific. And here's the kicker. The Americans thought it was just too far away to ever be attacked.
And this right here, this is the fatal miscalculation at the very heart of this whole story. It's a tale of two completely different perspectives. Where the U.S. saw a safe, powerful deterrent, Japan saw a golden opportunity, a massive vulnerability. It was American overconfidence that turned their greatest strength into a target that was just too tempting to ignore.
All right, let's get into the attack itself. This thing was planned down to the last detail for months, and it was carried out with absolutely shocking precision. It all went down in two separate ways on a morning that was supposed to be just another quiet Sunday.
So just a little before 8 a.m., the first wave hits. We're talking 189 planes screaming out of the clouds, dropping bombs and torpedoes on a completely unsuspecting fleet. Within minutes, this peaceful harbor, it's just transformed into an absolute nightmare of fire, smoke, and chaos. And they weren't done. Less than an hour later, a second wave of 171 planes came in to just hammer the base even more.
You know, amid all the destruction that day, one story stands out as particularly tragic. The fate of the USS Arizona. A bomb, just one bomb, managed to pierce its forward ammo magazine. The explosion was so massive, so catastrophic, that the entire battleship sank in under 9 minutes. Over 1,000 crew members went down with it, trapped inside. It's just an unbelievable loss of life, and it's become the most powerful, enduring symbol of that entire day.
From a purely tactical point of view, the attack was brilliant. It was devastatingly effective. But, and this is a huge but, the ultimate result was the complete opposite of what Japan wanted. They thought they could break America's will to fight. Instead, they woke up a sleeping giant and forged American resolve into something as hard as steel.
So if you just look at the numbers, the immediate toll, it's just staggering. The U.S. lost over 2,400 people. 19 ships were sunk or damaged, including 8 massive battleships. And Japan's losses? In comparison, almost nothing. Just 29 planes and 129 men. I mean, on paper, this looks like a slam-dunk victory for Japan. But as you're about to see, those numbers don't even begin to tell the real story.
Yeah, it turns out that what Japan didn't destroy was maybe even more important than what they did. First off, by an incredible stroke of luck, all three of the U.S. aircraft carriers, the most important ships in the fleet, were out at sea on maneuvers. They were completely untouched, and they would be absolutely critical in the battles to come. On top of that, the attack completely missed the base's huge oil storage tanks and the ship repair yards. This was a huge mistake because it meant the U.S. could patch things up and get back in the fight way faster than anyone in Japan ever expected.
So the very next day, December 8th, President Roosevelt stands before a nation that is just unified in its shock and its anger. And he delivers one of the most famous speeches in American history, calling December 7th a date which will live in infamy. He asks Congress to declare war, and just like that, years of American isolationism just vanished. Gone. In a single morning, the attack had united the entire country with one single, crystal clear purpose. And that really brings us to the great paradox of this whole event, doesn't it? Japan absolutely won the Battle of Pearl Harbor. But in winning that battle, did they actually lose the entire war? It's said that Admiral Yamamoto himself feared they had awakened a sleeping giant. And he was right. Japan's incredible tactical victory set the stage for its own ultimate strategic disaster. It truly was a day of infamy, one that didn't just change the course of a war, it changed the entire world.